Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. It's your boy dGon and Dom. And because you hated Yamato so much, we brought Monte back. Monte, welcome back, brother.
Thank you. No, it's because
No.
Yamato is going to be doing some other stuff, guys. So we'll see. You know, well, I love being on this show. It's a great show. We get to talk about all the regions. It's pithy, it's quick, it's segmented, it's fun. So I'm back at least for today. TBD what happens in the future. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. How you didn't take a full vacation off? What did you do? Like, people wanted to know what you were doing, Monte.
So my kid got strep throat and stayed home from school, and then gave
that's fun.
me strep throat.
Oh,
So
it's
that's
more
why
fun.
I sound like this. So yeah, it's been great. It's been really productive.
The young strep throat angles are awful. Like, Dom, did you ever get strep throat? And when was the last time?
Yeah,
you
I
had
got
strep
it.
throat?
I think I got it once actually in like 2013 when I was in the curse house. Like just strep throat just went around the curse house and we just all got sick. So yeah, I don't know. I got it that time. It was pretty fucking bad when the last time I had it. I don't get sick much. Like I mean, I have days where I don't feel great, but I don't actually get like really sick for long periods of time. I think that was like maybe like one of the worst times I've been sick in the last like 10 years. I think besides that, I was really sick one time in Australia. Never knew what that was. Like, it's a complete mystery because like how they do Australian medicine is like they don't want to give you antibiotics. They don't want to give you anything. I'm like, I go there 5 times. They're like, we're not going to give you medicine this time either, even though you're clearly super ill. You can go to the hospital if you want and like check yourself into the hospital. And then after I think that was like the first 4 times. After the 5th time, they finally gave me prednisone and it fixed me instantly. So I just suffered in Australia for like 2 weeks because they refused to give medicine out.
That's funny.
Australia,
Anyway, my throat
America.
doesn't hurt. And my throat doesn't hurt. It just sounds hoarse. So there you go. It was. I actually dodged the worst of it. I had a strep throat a million times as a kid, though. It's horrible.
Yeah, I used to get it a ton. I remember in the States, they give you some sort of antibiotic. What is it they give you? Penicillin. They give you penicillin. And
it's antibiotic, it's bacterial infection. So
the more that you use penicillin, the less effective it is. And if you don't finish your penicillin, then it doesn't completely kill the bacteria and it becomes less and less efficient until it just doesn't work.
And then you become patient zero for the new super bacteria.
Yes. And that used to scare the shit out of me because, I knew I was going to do something with my voice or whatever. I was studying opera and I was lazy and wouldn't take my penicillin all the way. So sorry that you got sick. Glad to have you back. We're totally kidding about Yamato. I had a lot of fun with him on the show. The biggest complaint, Dom, was that you guys would agree all the time because you guys were boys, which is just stupid. That's just so dumb. That's a dumb take, guys.
Friends are in fact capable of disagreeing.
Yeah. Thank God we're not friends. Thank God Dom and Monte aren't friends. That's why they disagree.
Yeah, thank God I fucking hate Monte, or else the show would be shit. So that's the good part here.
So as LFN continues to evolve and grow, Monte needs to take on a bigger role so that we can keep bringing you amazing partners and deals with our partners.
Basically, guys, like it's just for me, it's just a matter of like the business, unfortunately, suffering from success and all of that. You guys have seen all the sponsors across all our shows. Well, I can get more, just need more time to do that. So as LFN continues to expand, it's a good thing. But yeah, it does, doing 6 or 7 podcasts like I'm doing right now and running the entire business may not be long-term feasible, right?
Exactly.
For now, it's okay.
Just ruin your life for content like I do.
Man. Why'd you have kids, Monte? You need to do esports. I am
ruining my life for content. I am.
Just keep on doing it. I remember when I started with LPL, I was like, I'll probably only do this for a couple years. Here we are, like 4.5 years in. It's not stopping anytime soon. I'm just gonna be like
fun
40
though now. Like look, I mean, you and I were talking about this before we started the show, but like this new format is actually a fucking banger. I mean, it's even better. I mean, we knew that it was going to be fun to see the kind of segmentation of the teams into the good group and the garbage group, which I do love. That they called them what?
Ascent
Ascend
and
and
Nirvana.
Nirvana. It's so
Yeah.
funny that they call the bum group Nirvana. Um, but anyway, like the Ascend group has been really entertaining. And I mean, basically every day there's some banger matchup in the LPL, which was really the problem with the LPL previously. Was it felt like, you know, you had to wait. There were a couple banger matches a week. Same shit with LCK right now, right? But now that we have them in two different groups, it's like, oh, every day there's an LPL match that I actually want to watch, which is really fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
really
did.
like it.
It did take a little bit to get through that. I guess the placements, the summer placements. But once you got through that, then now like it's a unique way to get the stakes up, which is what the issue was with LEC when I was watching the React videos to you not wanting to do anymore, Yamada not want to do anymore. It was the G2 Fnatic rivalry has been done so much that, hey, like, now what? You know, what else is there compared to, hey, let's take those top tier teams and, you know, segment them. We know that the cream of the crop will rise up and those rivalries will continue to go. And that's actually a little bit of my fear with the LCK. You know, we've had 4 Gen G versus T1 finals in a row, you know, like
Yeah.
Well, you know, the
T1's
last
different.
one was a mega banger, and T1 is different. And also, this last LCK was the most viewed LCK final of all time. So let's choose what we complain about. Like, I was not upset when I was there in person in the stadium watching that last final. I thought it was fucking great.
I will say for viewership numbers on LCK though, it's also like the first time where like you don't have like access to it in China. So like the Chinese are like going to these other sites. So it's like hard to know. I mean, I feel like right now viewership is like so hard to know what's actually true because LEC is like always boasting about we're a 20% viewership increase. It's like nice. You added some guy who hosts a tournament that does 3.7 million viewers on his channel. You added that guy to the LEC. Now he has a Spanish team. You added Kometo, another fucking massive streamer, and you're up 20% viewership. Like that is bad to me, you know? Like if we're adding those two streamers and Cadrel, like I don't know.
LCS added Biano and Cadrel, and they're up 4%, and they had a fucking ticker tape parade over that. So
yeah, I don't know.
So good.
I feel like all viewership is a little bit down right now. That's kind of how it feels to me. Is that like every league is actually suffering to some degree from viewership.
I mean, this is the lowest viewership part of the season, though. That's the truth of it. It's like, you know, every summer, guys, you know, it's up really high at the start of spring. Then it kind of dwindles a little bit in the middle of spring. It's back up for spring playoffs and MSI. And this in the middle of summer, halfway through the split, is when the viewership is always the lowest. It's the doldrums. Yeah, it's the doldrums. And as you get into summer playoffs, it picks way up again. And then obviously getting into Worlds. So it probably feels that way partially just because this is that time of year. It's always this time of year.
Yeah, it's the summer slump. Happens all the time. And LCK had to go through it. There we go. Almost got there. Had to go through it here week 4 as we came back from EWC. Week 4 in the books here at the LCK, as well as Challengers, which I just co-streamed today. Challengers is so fun. Challengers is messy. Challengers guys aren't afraid of hands checking each other because they know the other team is going to hands check them back. And so DRX versus KT was just like higher quality LCS. Like that's what it was. It was higher quality LCS because they were not afraid.
Is it higher quality?
Yeah. I'm sure the higher quality. So
all right.
Yeah. I mean, I love my LCS boys, but like the mechanics that were being displayed, I was like, it was just ooze on top of ooze because people were just trying to outplay each other. You know, 3 would die on one side, 2 would die on the other. They'd show back up, do it again, and I was like, oh, this is sweet.
Who's the Challengers mid laner for Nongshim, dGon?
The Challengers mid laner for Nongshim? I don't know. They didn't play.
Oh, okay. No, I was just wondering because why is Fisher still in the LCK?
Because he's had a couple of moments to carry and did. There's also moments where he just doesn't get to play the game. So
Dom, would it surprise you if I told you he's not even the worst mid laner in the LCK?
Who is the worst mid laner in the LCK if it's not him?
Karas, maybe?
Whichever one they pick for bro.
Maybe.
Boldea
I don't know, bro.
Karas.
I don't watch many of the bottom teams. Every time I tune in, I see Fisher just int. Like it's literally every single time, like on my stream, somebody's like, "Oh, Fisher is playing," because I'm a Fisher hater. I think this guy's just dog shit. I fucking hate watching this guy play. Same thing with Vampire. Like those guys that are on EDG, fucking hate watching those guys play. And every time I tune in, somebody's like, "Yo, Dom Fisher is playing." I tune in for a third of a second. He always runs it down, like without fail. So I'm just happy to see him running it down as well in summer. Hopefully, LCK can rid themselves of this Fisher curse soon, because that guy does not deserve to be playing in LCK for sure.
So the bummer part is the two guys behind him, Calyx and Call Me, were the starters last split. So
Yeah.
they were trying to solve the problem between those two, like what Bro are doing. They didn't. They picked up Fisher, and Fisher has had a couple of okay games, I think, on Tristana. And he also had a couple of int games on Tristana. So
Nice.
yeah. Like every time he does, I just hear your voice in my head just being like, fucking hate this guy. And I'm like, oh, a tough game here for Fisher and Nongshim Esports as they lose.
I fucking hate that guy. I don't know, man. Like it's so hard to watch him play. I don't get it, man. I don't like the thing about Fisher is like the thing that I really don't like about players like Fisher is they'll be in positions to do well, and then they'll just like int in the most creative ways all the time. I really don't like the players that randomly
so a
throw
humanoid
games.
fan, I see.
Oh, I hate humanoid. Like I'm a humanoid hater. I'm the biggest one. If you watch my LEC live views, you can attest to this, bro. Like every time I'm like, so at what point can I just call humanoid bad? Because it feels like every time I watch humanoid just run it down for an entire split, and then he plays like one good game internationally or like two good games internationally, and then for some reason I have to give him like a 6-month break. Like I'm not allowed to criticize him for like 6 months. I mean, humanoid dies in such creative ways. What did he die in? He died in a Corki versus Talia matchup recently, 1v1. I'm like, how does Corki get solo killed by Talia? Like Talia is like the lowest damage champion in the fucking game mid lane. Like that's still played in mid lane. How the fuck do you die solo? But he found a way, bro. I don't know. It's different. That guy has the pass for life when it comes to inting.
Yeah. Well, Fisher's still there. No solid answers yet. And the unfortunate part is Nongshim was a team that made a lot of changes going into this split. They were a team that gambled and put in a bunch of different players. They've changed their top laner, they changed their mid laner, they changed their support, either promoting or like with Fisher's case, picking him up from the free agency pool. And it just hasn't panned out for him. So that's been a bummer. Exciting thing, Hanwha Life beat T1 2-1, and it was a close series.
That was a fun series.
Yeah. It was finally,
but it was fun.
you finally got to see Viper back doing Viper things, man. Like I think Viper has been underperforming because he hasn't been put in positions. They've tried to play through Zeka and Doran a couple times, and then the couple times where Viper gets fed late, he hasn't shown up. This series against T1, he outpointed Guma.
That's probably the entire week. I mean, not even just this series, but I mean, his Ezreal play in this series was fantastic. His Kaisa play in the next series was fantastic. I think he was the best player the whole week.
Yeah. Yep. Did you catch you caught that series? What did you make of it here, Dom?
Oh, I mean, the main thing I remember is like Faker at the end of that game 3, like just jumping in, and the whole game is just lost instantly. Like that was the biggest thing. Is like, like I know you're on the LCK broadcast now. I am kind of an LCK broadcast hater, dGon. And like when they just got aced, like it took like the casters were like coping so hard. They're like, and like
it was great.
Looks like they might be able to end. It's like 5 versus 1. Like there's like a solo Kaisa in the base, like trying to defend versus 5 people. It was like.
My favorite thing about that was it was such a split call too, because Guma's just like farming the mid wave as Kaisa, and like instead of backing off, like they had every opportunity to even back off of that play, but Faker just stood around. He rocket jumps over the wall into the river and mid, then flashes out, then runs around in a circle, and then just gets flash queued by Bard, and then just chain CC'd into a Yone ult and dies. Meanwhile, Guma's just clearing midwave with Kaisa Q. It's so funny to watch. Terrible end to that series, but yeah, Faker's Tristana definitely disappointing.
I mean, he also was it game 1 where he just like lost lane Tristana 1v1 versus Corky. Like he somehow
Yup.
can't play.
Yeah,
Again.
Yep.
Yep.
He
again.
can't play either side of that matchup. I think that's a
No,
really
he
bad sign for T1. Like he gets solo killed like in the worst ways when he's playing the Corky into Tristana. I mean, he got solo killed by what? He got solo killed by Cream at EWC. He got solo killed by Showmaker when they
Showmaker.
played it
Yep.
domestically. This time he's playing the Trist versus Corky. He has to flash out on that side. It just feels like for some reason he can't lane these picks. And I think
what's
that's
weird,
like
Dom, is he like
the hardest
opts
part about
into the
T1.
all-ins. He opts into the all-ins
Yes,
very
that's
early in
where-
the game, and then he just loses them all the time.
Yeah, but like the all-ins are supposed to be good for Trist, as demonstrated by when he was playing into like the other team. You know, like he was literally showing why they're good for Trist. When he was playing Corky side, but then when he plays the Tristana side, he can't find the good all-in timers. So I think that's really rough for T1 right now. Also, I think there's like the disconnect. Like I don't really like Carrier on these standard supports. Like I feel like when he plays Rakan and stuff like that, I just don't think that's like the look for T1. And because Faker is not good at playing the AD mid laners, it feels like the only way T1 can get big advantages is if they just play like Sejuani for owner and they just play like old school comps. They take the draft L and they play like Azir or something like that. And they don't opt into these AD mid lane matchups, because if you're playing AD mid lane versus AD mid lane and then you're playing Faded Ashes Zyra or Faded Ashes Brand, like one of these matchups, and your mid lane is just losing, it's so hard to play the game. Like it's so hard for owner to actually do anything. So feels like owner needs to just take the L because his team is not capable of playing around him. And that's I think one of the biggest problems for T1 historically is they play well with owner enabling other people. They don't play well around owner like farming. Like they don't play well around like jungle pathing, like letting owner carry the game. They just don't let him do what a jungler needs to do to carry a game ever, really. Like the way that owner carries games is by having really sick engages and like playmaking, but they just are really bad about playing their lanes in accordance to what their jungler needs to do. It feels like they're one of those teams where like the laners just go into lane. It's like, I'm just going to play the matchup however the fuck I want. Like, doesn't matter what you do. And they just have to always like trade in all these bad timers, and owner just has to compensate for everyone else. So I feel like owner is actually like the most underrated player on T1. Every time they lose, everyone blames him. But I feel like this guy is actually just like the best player on the team, low key.
I mean, I thought Carrier did better in the EWC finals in terms of like playing some more standard supports. Like he had a really good Rakan game to close things out. So I was hopeful that they would turn it around, and like I'm not going to read too much into this week after them coming back. But yeah, I mean the persistent problems with Faker's AD champion pool are definitely warranted criticisms. Like not being able to play Tristana in this meta is just unacceptable. Like
I mean, he was bad at it at MSI as well. Like it's been like it's been
the whole time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. That's why I'm not like viewing it as like, oh, he just like ran it down once. They just won EWC.
Yeah,
And like
it's happened a
like
lot.
this is a very obvious trend. It started at MSI. His AD mid laners were terrible at MSI. Tristana was bad at MSI. It isn't getting better. He comes back to LCK. He's getting solo killed. He's like a big liability on those picks. Goes to EWC. It's an issue again. The way that they ended up beating top esports is by just like removing those champions from the game, essentially just banning Tristana, like period, and just taking like an Ari or just a different pick, a Yone or a Yasuo, just a different type of pick into the mid lane. Feels like that's how they need to win. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought Hanwha Life just looked like a better team. I mean, if Doran doesn't lock in Quinn in game 2, doesn't Hanwha Life just win 2-0? Because Doran Quinn is like, I just don't know why this guy ever has the ego to pick something like that. Like he's not better than somebody like Zeus in lane. Like you should just not pick that if you're Doran.
I had a different take on this, which is that like I think T1 probably should have won this 2-0 because there were a lot of throws in game 1 of this series. Like, you know, Hanwha had a huge lead and Peanut was jungling out of his mind on the Poppy, and they were doing a lot to get Doran ahead on Rumble. But then they basically like Hanwha had real teleport issues and like objective calling issues throughout this series. And they just straight up threw like their Rumble was 3,000 gold ahead, and they're like contesting a Drake that they don't need to they don't need to contest this Drake. And Rumble's like in the fucking base with no TP because he played Ignite. And it's like they were constantly in river taking fights when they had TP disadvantages throughout the series. Not only whether it was on cooldown, but like literally not having TP on a Rumble in game 1. And so T1 actually was able to, you know, fight back into that and probably should have won that game, I think.
I think that's fair. I mean, on the other side of it, it's like the fact that Doran had those massive ints and they still ended up winning the game, like what, when he got caught in front of Baron, like that is just
Well,
catastrophe,
you
right?
know, the
That
other
was
thing
wild.
too, the other thing too was like there were so many. I was like frame by framing some of the replays in the series, and like the Smite fights were crazy. Like literally both, like the Baron steal that happened
Mhm.
was like both players are smiting at like 12:58, and it just happens that Peanut gets the Baron steal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like that happened, and Peanut just seemed to come up with the 50/50s every time in this series. And I think if one or two of those go T1's way, they probably just win the series. It was a very close game. Look, these games are
Yeah.
very exciting. Are they sloppy? Yes. Do they have the best like macro cross map play, objective control? No. There are a lot of 50/50s, but they're really close 50/50s. It was again later in the series. There was a Drake where it was like again both of them smiting at like 1260 HP or something like that. It was wild. It was a wild series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the one thing we can all agree on is that T1 is completely doomed for the rest of the year, and like they're just complete frauds. So I think
And
we can
they
all
should
agree that it's over for
basically just
T1. They
dissolve
should
the
just
team right
disband.
now. So
Yeah,
sell Faker
exactly.
to China.
Yep, sell Faker to China. Let him get 20 million for 1 year, and then yeah, and then we just call it a day.
Sell him to RNG. Put Milky Way on the team.
All right, chat. Just
Okay, perfect.
T1 fans, I did not say that. I just want the record to show that was
dGon agreed with me though. Like he
not my
agrees.
opinion. That was not
You
my
can see it
opinion.
on
He
his
typed
face.
I agree in chat.
Yeah, he typed I agree in our chat. He just wants to, like for the sake of the show, he's trying to remain neutral.
I have now typed I disagree. I never typed I agree in the
He
chat.
edited it.
I think the Poppy Steal is probably the leading candidate for play of the season. We reran that one with the vision toggle, and it was near blind. It was near blind. I think someone put a ward down on top of the control ward at like 3K, and he's getting like, I forgot what he did. But he was getting shoved out of there. He flashes blind into it, smites, steals it, and that was the end of the game. It was amazing. It was super, super cool to watch Peanut be able to just roll back time.
I also just love watching Peanut play Poppy. It's like my favorite player champion combination in all of Pro League of Legends to watch. So it was very fun for me.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Let's see what else came up. Genji D plus, that was supposed to be a big one. Instead, Genji just fucking ran over them.
Well, not really. Like, I mean, the second game, like, it felt like Genji could have lost that pretty easy.
Yes, but it was a series where it just didn't feel like it wasn't what we built. We're like, cool, Lucid has been key to their success. Let's see how they do. No. Showmaker has had a resurgence here. Chovy wins player of the series. Like, it just kind of. I had more fun watching the Bro Nongshim series than I did the Genji D plus series, just because it felt like Genji was superior, and that first series really set the tone, or that first game set the tone. Yeah, how did you feel about it, Dom? Obviously, you didn't feel that way, but
I mean, so my overall feeling is I think that across the entire world, something that makes everything interesting is it feels like the top teams are just playing worse. Like everyone is playing worse. It feels like Genji is not as unbeatable as they were before. I think T1 is looking worse. I think BLG is looking worse. I think Top Esports is looking worse. Hanwha Life looking better. LNG looking better. I think that across the entire world, what's making League more exciting for me is that I don't feel like there's a big difference between the top teams and the middle of the pack teams. Like I still think Genji is the best team in LCK, and I still believe that BLG, even though they've had sloppy games, is the best team in LPL. I don't care if they threw one 5K gold lead to T1 in a best of 3. I don't know how that somehow means more than winning 2 best of 5s at MSI, but like BLG, I think they are just like the team in China this year. So I think that overall, like having these teams all come down a bit has made both leagues more exciting, because it actually does feel like Hanwha Life can get in the mix. Like they can win. I mean, obviously they took a best of 5 versus T1 in playoffs in spring, but I don't feel the same level of like unbeatableness out of the top teams that I did before. Like in LCK earlier this year or earlier this split, it felt like Genji was just actually unbeatable. Like they would just lock in AP jungler. They would have a tank top of some sort for Doran. They would run a tank support of some sort for Lehens. You would just play like Leona or some shit. AD mid laner for Chovy every single game. Doesn't matter if it's Corki, Tristana, Lucian mid, like whatever. He would just have an advantage there. And then Pays would play whatever AD was good for the games, like Ezreal or something like that. And Gen G just had this structure that it felt was actually unbeatable for other teams in LCK. Pre EWC, and now like they showed some weakness at EWC. They showed some more weakness here for versus Domwon this week. So I feel like in general you're just getting more excitement out of the fact that there doesn't feel to be like this massive gap between the top teams and the other like strong teams in the region that there was before.
Monte, how do you feel about that take before you get into the series?
I think they're bounce like look, I think they had a very bad read on the meta coming into EWC. And the thing about EWC is that you're in for one best of 3, and if you fuck up your meta read and you lose, that's it. This week, the game 2 against Dom 1 was definitely losable. It was like a very split map situation. I did think that D+ did a good job of like repeatedly diving in the bot side when Canyon really couldn't do anything on Nidalee to stop that, even if he was there. And Pays was really punished. I think that like game 1 was really convincing, and like it was great to see them switch priority over to the Tristana for Chovy, right? It was great to see the GP coming back, you know, into the Gnar matchup. Like that's a matchup that was fun many years ago, but hasn't happened in quite a long time. And I like the fact that Pays was on the, like, I think basically Gen G just got the God draft in game number 1, where it looked really like to me they had understood about fast pushing priority with Ziggs and Tristana that was very much on display from teams at EWC. And then game number 2, they did struggle more. So it's their first week back. Like, I would say that the Kwangdong games were really quite convincing. So, D+ is a good team. I guess I'm not that surprised by it. That series is always played super close for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, like, okay, so they showed a little bit of weakness, but they still haven't lost a game this split yet, right? They are basically going to go 18-0 and 9 in games and 9-0 in best of 3s, because their next match is what? Nongshim? So like,
Yeah.
seems unlikely they're going to lose a game. So basically they're going to complete the perfect round robin. So I don't know. I think they still look good. Let's see. We have a rematch, fortunately, this next week against D+. So let's see if it's close again, would be my take on it.
Yeah, this week is a lot of interesting kind of like rematch games. So you have Gen G D+.
T1 Hanwha.
We have T1 Hanwha as well, which is it's cool the way the schedule does that. And they're like, yep, let's sync it up now. And get those games in. Kwangdong Freaks and Hanwha Life as well. So Hanwha has a big week.
Well, Monte doesn't like that because of what happened with KDF versus Bro last split, so, where they just got absolutely just railed two series in 1 week.
But Kwangdong has already beaten Bro.
Yeah,
it's true.
So this is round number 2. So they can't go 0-2 again. They can't do it. It's actually impossible.
the Bro Blue Shell's coming for someone. They play D+ and Gen G. D+ and Kwangdong. They do play Kwangdong again. So could happen. I've been looking for wins somewhere on the schedule for Kwangdong or for Bro, and it's not looking good, man. So D+ Kwangdong this week. So maybe Kwangdong. Gen G Fear X next week. You know, so we'll see what happens.
Yep.
This is why the LPL format is better, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the thing about LCK is like there's just a lot of we've had this top heavy dominance in LCK for like years now. Like it's been
Yes.
What was the last time that like
7 teams?
That like the 7th team actually was like pretty decent in LCK?
I don't know if that's ever happened, I'll be honest.
Monte, that you would answer that. I have no.
Well,
no
so
idea.
here's the thing. When it was a tournament format, the answer was yes. So if we're talking like 2014, yes, the 7th team was good and interesting. Ever since they stopped allowing sister teams and switched to the league format, it really has not been.
I'm looking now. 2019.
Maybe 2016. actually, like 2016 was pretty decent, even down towards the bottom of the standings. Because there was a point where like 7th place was 8 and 10, which is like a little below average. And like that was Longzhu, who actually had, interesting and famous players on it. So,
Yeah.
or CJ at the time was also there. So yeah, I think 2016, I would say, but that was still coming off of the era of, a lot of these players who had been in the early parts of the scene and had kind of grown up in the era of sister teams.
Yeah.
Just looking here. 2019, 6th place was Gen G at 10 and 8. 7th place was Kingzone Dragon X at 9 and 9. But that
That's pretty
year,
good.
yeah, that year summer, it was only 5 teams in playoffs. And the reason why Kingzone Dragon X can go 9 and 9 is because Jin Air was 0 and 18. Jin Air, bro. Interesting. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's enough LCK here off the top. Just a little look at it.
That was
from
the by the way, that was the King Zone with Cuz and Deft on it. So it was not a bad team. They actually did very well in spring.
Rascal Cuz, Deft, Tucson, mid laner Nahyun, who's playing for Masters
God,
team
bro.
Ages, baby.
Bro, Nahyun, bro. How the fuck is this guy still playing? This guy is ancient. No, that was the guy that was on Origin, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my lord. And now he's
still in there,
playing.
man.
Dude, it's so crazy to me that this guy actually went to military, came back, and he got picked up in LFL. 28-year-old import in a LFL is crazy.
Yeah, shout outs to Dove for filling in for Team Wales now. He just signed as well over in Vietnam. So players still gonna play. Who else was playing? Rich was on Gen G that year. Rich was on Gen G. That's probably the only like popular name, or I guess throwback name on there. Okay. Cool. That's LCK. For a little bit there, I was just imagining Faker in a different jersey. Like that's just crazy. That just won't happen.
Yep.
All right. Time for our, I guess, second segment of the day. First segment was freestyle. Second segment, it's time for a fraud alert. Around the world fraud alert. Because we've had almost all the leagues playing. LCS is still on their VCT hiatus. But we've got 3 frauds.
It like it is, dGon. You're calling it like it is. The VCT group's hiatus. It's not random, guys. It's very deliberate.
What is it being called?
They like to not acknowledge the fact that it takes a backseat to VCT. Yeah, that it even exists.
It's the summer break. Like what? Summer break is for the teams that don't make it to Worlds. Have your summer break early in August. What Shopify is going to do. Let's get to fraud alert. It's BDS in the LEC, top esports after the struggles from coming back from EWC. And my boys, the Fighting CV Maxes, Kwangdong Freaks. Who is the most fraudulent and why? Let's get into it. All right, Monte, did I set that one up right? I feel like I always mess up with the specific
That's
one.
Great. That's
all
great.
Right. Yeah. Who is the most fraudulent? We're comparing teams that had expectations. BDS coming on in and expected to do a solid series against G2, like to watch as a fan, I guess, but not what you want if you're a fan of the French outfit. Let's start there. Dom, what do you make of BDS here in their fraudulency scale?
I think the one thing is that it feels like they've been figured out by other teams really easily. Like you're seeing just Lebrov get a rel ban every single time. This guy was like the rel player in LEC and he was performing on it all the time. When he's not playing rel, it doesn't feel like this team is scary at all. Ice is consistent. He's probably the best player on the team, but I think the meta really doesn't suit them. Nuck has never been like an AD mid player. They can't play a lot of the AD mids super well. They don't get advantages there anymore. And I think Adam has just been playing bad. Like for his own level, I think he's just not playing close as well as he was before. So the issues that I see with BDS are just that the meta doesn't suit them. Like Cheo was always better on things like Sejuani, on things like Vi. Like, it felt like he was a facilitator for the team. The team doesn't play well around him, and I feel like Nuck not playing control mages has really limited their ability to have their strengths really shine, where their strengths are like showing up to objectives early and, you know, playing around them with control of vision and controlling chokes with mages and stuff like that. You don't really see this team do that anymore. So for me, I think BDS, I mean, they're just the biggest fraud for me. I just think that they're really bad. The fact that they were 10k down versus Mad Lions, it's criminal. The drafts they have versus G2, the fact that they can't even compete, just feels bad. I mean, they should have got 3-0'd by Mad Lions. The fact that Mad Lions did anything in these series just shows how fucking terrible that team is. Like, how did Mad Lions ever lose that third game? That is so unbelievable. That might be one of the worst games of all time.
I mean, sure. There's also, like, I think some opportunities for BDS to, like, actually just, you know, straight up win some of these games. Like, I think what's weird to me is that BDS, you know, they're not even good at the macro things that they were good at previously. So if you take that game 3 against Bad Lions, they basically had super minions going up mid lane into Mad Lions base, and instead of like actually fighting for Drake control, right, they just give up all vision on Drake to go prioritize mid lane when they could have just rushed the Drake when they had super minions on their side in the mid lane. So it's like they're not even making like interesting or solid calls around objectives. And then when they played against G2, they were walking into a Fed Lucian like over and over and over again. It's like, why are you perpetuating these fights and trying to chase them down under mid lane tier 1 when you know this Lucian is huge and already has a Kraken Slayer? Like, it's very weird decision making, I think, by BDS. And I'm used to them at least having a better sense of like where to push their advantages or how to play objectives. And it seems like that's gone out the window too. So, you know, also I think that the Jinx bans that G2 did were, you know, pretty savvy, because Ice has been like basically the clutch factor, the clutch factor for Ice there. Like, if you watch that game 3, you know, you could ask a question at the very end, like, does BDS win against Bad Lions if in game 3 Ice isn't on that Jinx at the end of the game, right?
Of course not.
Yeah. So like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, sure, you could let VTO have Akali when he's on Misfits, or you could just not do that and limit like the playmaking ability. So I think taking away the Jinx was the right call, because you just don't know what's going to happen, and like you don't want those scenarios. But BDS really, like, I was just disappointed by their decision making more than anything, and that is, for me, is the big switch compared to what we've seen previously.
I think the thing is, their decision making was predicated on the fact that everyone was good at their role within the team. And now it's like, maybe the decisions are the same, but everyone's job in those decisions is different. And I feel like that's where they really lack the ability to have those advantages. Like, normally it would be Nuck being the person that zones people from areas, right? Like, he would be the one that would be playing Azir, or he'd play Talia, and he'd make sure they controlled like a certain area. And now it's like Cheo doing that, which is not his strength. Cheo was the guy who was finding engages. Now it's Nuck's chance to like DPS. Nuck has to be the guy that's DPSing all the time. Adam is not really playing his champions. His champions aren't really good right now, so he looks kind of lost a lot of the time in games. I mean, those top 1v1s were like some of the worst I've seen. Like, it was really terrible watching the top 1v1s between him and Merwin. But overall, it just feels like everyone kind of had a set identity on the team, and even though the team will probably have to play a lot of the objective fights the same way, the fact that it's different people having to do different things has completely like stripped them of that strength.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in game 2 they invested a lot in getting Adam ahead against the Jace, but I think he had trouble finding the fights there. He found a couple of like nice ults on like one guy, maybe 2, but it wasn't like key targets to win the fights. And then G2 did G2 things, and you know, played with their food as they have for the last like year, and turn it on and close off BDS in obviously tougher matchup here compared to Mad Lions Koi. All right, before we get a score, let's go to the next one. Let's move on over to the LPL and Top Esports. Another squad here who
I could have done NIP, by the way. but we've done NIP already, but NIP is looking also like mega fraudulent right now. They look terrible.
It depends
Yes.
on what your
Yes.
scale is.
Yes,
Like,
that exactly.
Like they should be what, like 7th through 9th in this group with how AL is looking, with how like LNG has improved.
Sure,
Like,
but they're coming off a 4th place finish where they really ramped up in playoffs, and they're currently bottom of the group, and they haven't even won a game, and they lost egregiously to FPX tonight, like embarrassingly.
yeah, I would just say that like the other teams, I feel like just should be better. Like, sure, they did place top 4, but that was with like a severely underperforming LNG, severely underperforming Weibo. Weibo theoretically upgraded their roster. I mean, Tarzan should be a big upgrade. Even though they didn't start out playing well, I think Weibo is playing better now. LNG is playing better now, and then AL upgraded their roster as well, and they have Tabe. So it's like those 3 teams being better than you. Then you still have BLG top, JDG that you were not even touching before. I think now
Sure.
you just have 6 teams that are just better than you. Like they probably should have beat FPX. Like that's
Yes.
like that's pretty crazy. They lost FPX because FPX also fell off a cliff. Like they had their own issues as well. But I think that in general, NIP just is not even close as good as these other teams. Also, I think the meta is horrible for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, top esports is supposed to be up there, at the top, second best team in LPL, given the results from MSI. Obviously, things have
EWC
changed.
finalists.
EWC
No one cares
finalist.
about that shit. I mean, this is the weirdest thing. It's like, look, I am one of the people that am not going to value the tournament at all. And like,
no, I don't care either. I'm just
so
joking.
it's like for me, it's like Gen G, them losing to top esports doesn't matter to me. It's like I still think Gen G is the best team in the world. Like them losing a best of 3 doesn't matter. But you can't have the take that for Gen G it doesn't matter, but for T1 it shows they're the best team in the world. Like you cannot be like, oh well, T1 winning shows how fucking good they are, and then like Gen G losing, you're just like, oh, but that doesn't matter. It's like, does the tournament matter or not? You had best of 3s to get to the finals the entire fucking way.
New
BLG lost a best of 3 where they were up 5k gold and Carrier made a good play and they lost that game. And then BLG is just like out of the tournament on the first day. Like just the idea that this was some like huge thing, just I don't know. I just don't care about it either way. Like I don't think it made teams look good. I don't think it made teams look bad. I think for like teams like TL, it's nice practice and stuff, but it's not something that I'm like going to count in my analysis of how good these teams are. Like Gen G, they won MSI. They're the team to beat.
Well, I think the argument is less for me about the T1 Gen G. It was more about the growth that TL showed.
Yeah.
Like I need it to matter a little bit, Dom, so that the TL growth mattered a little bit.
Let me tell you something, dGon. I can tell you from my own experience that when NA teams do well at these like minor international tournaments, like when TSM won IEM Katowice,
World
Yep.
champs.
let me just tell you right now, to NA fans, it suddenly matters a whole fucking lot.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I care more about the fact that TL played competitive games. Like, so for me, it's like
they looked better.
I think that I care about like how teams looked a bit, but I don't care about the results. Like the results are not changing like how I rank the teams, but it's more like I think it's a nice little form check for like the Western teams, really. Like having the close matches go one way or the other, like sure, Gen G had a bad day, whatever. I think that over like, I mean, because we got to see TL play 2 best of 3s as opposed to 1, I think that's also a big difference. Like for BLG and Gen G, who I think are the 2 best teams in the world, they only played 1 best of 3. They played, like BLG played 3 games, Gen G played 2. But like TL showed, like, I mean, because they beat Fnatic at MSI, and then they 2-0'd Fnatic here, like they showed that they had like good form.
I mean, any sane tournament, like, so when we talk about these tournaments and we say, okay, well, they're starting on a brand new patch, and if you have the wrong meta read, you just lose that best of 3. And in a normal seeding system, we would have had the Eastern teams seeded against the Western teams, and we wouldn't have had these like fucking Mickey Mouse Western matches in the quarterfinals. And therefore, maybe some of these teams like BLG and Gen G would have been able over a couple more days to get a better read on the meta, and we would have had different results, right? But like Gen G had a horrible read on the meta. We know that now, like looking at their drafts.
Yeah, because what did they pull out against D+? Ivern. You're playing Ivern. Why? Because that shit smacked.
Well, it's also that they weren't just like blue siding B1 Corky when Tristana was up and giving Cream that stuff. Which, I mean, we're going to talk about top esports. Like, I do think that top was over time exposed as being significantly worse when they didn't have Cream on Tristana over the course of that event. And I do think that it's fair to say that, look, they played 2 matches since they got back. One of them was to BLG, who's another extremely good team. And one of them is into a surprisingly good LNG. And a lot of this has to come from the fact that Scout is looking amazing again. He's been really good. And that's a massive difference. So top has played 2 of the better teams in that group so far. And I do think they're obviously going to bounce back.
Yeah. I thought LNG looked like, that's the thing, is just because top esports lost to LNG, it depends on what type of form we saw out of LNG. Like LNG actually had some like macro, like that was the whole thing about LNG before, is they were able to play the side lanes well. They would get these advantages. They were like the LCK team of the LPL last year. And now you see them doing that again. Like they had the Rise counter pick to the Kennen. That's also a pick that 369 I'm not really confident in. I'm somebody who's watched 369 play for years. This Kennen, I think, is like one of his worst champs. So like I thought LNG outdrafted them. Tian's on the Xinjiao. It's not really super good pick right now. And the way they played the game out, I thought it was nice. And Scout's Yone, like I've never been huge on Scout's Yone, but his Yone performance was actually really fucking good in this series.
Really good in that series.
So for me, it's about the form of the team that you're losing to. Like for T1, it's not mega embarrassing they lost to Hanwha Life, because Hanwha Life played like a pretty decent, like Hanwha Life is in decent form right now. They look like they are probably going to end up being like a solid 3rd best team, almost a shoo-in for Worlds. Could potentially like peak 2nd best. Don't think they'll win. They still have like some issues, but they look solid. So it's not like a super shameful loss. I think the shamefulness of the loss actually like is correlated to how well the team you're playing is playing. And if LNG plays a good series, I mean, they should be good. This is not a fucking bad team, bro. Like this is way Scout. Like, I mean, come on, like Gala's on this team. Zico was one of the best top winners last year. It was pathetic that team was getting like 6th or 7th or whatever in spring. Like that was a horrible result for them. They should be a top team in the league.
All right, so we laid it out there for top. Now let's move on over to Kwangdong Freaks.
One last thing about Gala too that I'll add is that it's great meta for Gala again, and like people may not remember, but he's always been a great Ziggs player, like always, and like that has been a pick that's been very popular and very effective over in the LPL, and Kaisa clearly his signature champion, but that's definitely in meta again. But his Ziggs is one of his greatest weapons of all time, even if he's played it less than traditional AD carries.
All right, boom. So, and top still haven't played this week. They play, but they do have tough tests this week, right?
Yeah, like they're 0-2 right now. But the thing about them is that LPL started while Esports World Cup was still going on, guys. So some of the teams that didn't go have already played a lot more matches. So top is going to be playing catch up from this point forward, and like it'll be like top. They should be able to beat Weibo and LGD. It's a lot easier this week for them.
Weibo, LGD, and then next week NIP before they take on, I guess, Tournament Darlings. Can we throw that one out there? Anyone's Legends, AL?
We all love Anyone's Legend right now.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Okay. And then finally, let's move on over to Kwangdong Freaks, which were the dark horse again, as they always fucking do it every split. They're currently ranked higher than T1 because of the match score between them. 5 game wins for Kwangdong Freaks, +5 compared to +4 to T1. Last week they went up against Genji and got bopped. They beat DRX on Sunday, but it was very, very unconvincing. And now they have Hanwha Life and Bro, so another test with the team that is slightly ahead of them. These are the types of teams they need to beat if they want to get up into that upper echelon. If they do beat them, they will be 2nd place. So it is kind of a high stakes game for Kwangdong Freaks. Why do you have them here, Monte, in terms of the fraudulency scale after this week specifically?
They are getting exposed. It's what I said. They are so reliant on Corki and Tristana mid. I have been hammering this for weeks now. I said, I need to see Bulldog play something that's not just fucking Corki or Tristana. And he doesn't look good when he's not. And the team looks like shit when they're not on this champion. And look, I want to believe in Kwangdong, right? But I've seen this before. I don't think they're going to go 7-11 like they did last split and like barely squeak their way into playoffs by like beating D+ in the last week ridiculously, to make that happen over Fear X. But what I will say is like they did really well at the start of spring. And then that's where, in the 5th week of competition, they lost 0-2 to, they played Breon back to back and lost both of those games to the worst team in the league. And I don't think they're going to collapse like that, but they are definitely not maintaining this position.
Yeah, for our friends at home that don't know, against Gen G, Tristana got taken away, banned away, and then for both series, and Corki was picked both times by Chovy Bulldog. First opt into Hui, and then the second time he played Zeri mid.
And the Zeri was really bad. The Hui mid is something he's done before, but I mean, this guy is just still bad at laning. And his crutches have now been kicked out, and he's just flopping around on the floor with a broken leg. So that's where we're at with Kwangdong. I look, Kwangdong, I think they were like 5-3.
No, they are.
They were. No. I'm saying last split. They were.
Sure.
Yeah, they were 5-3 also coming into this next week.
And then
so
they
it's
got
very, very
Breon.
It was a very similar situation. And like I'm not as afraid as I was for them last split, but I do think people have been massively overrating this team.
Thoughts on Kwangdong Freaks here, Dom? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're the same team. They remind me a lot of like this like the LGD status of team in the LPL, where it's like they can look good, but you never really believe in them because they don't have like the level of like consistent map play that you need to beat top teams. So it's like maybe they can win if Cuz pops off or something like that, or if Bulldog has like a really good game, or if Leaper pops off. Like there's ways they can win, but it's not like a consistent way where you're like, damn, this team is like has a structure now. They're doing things well now. It just they feel like a less talented version of Dom1 to me. Right? They're like a team where I just don't believe in any of their systems. It's just like hopefully they get like a good draft and somebody smurfs, I guess.
They also did almost lose game 2 to DRX, and they probably should have lost that game.
One of the ways that they are is that Cuz has his certified Nidalee player card, and so he can play that. He just doesn't have a Chovy in the mid lane to play through, and Din isn't keen, and yeah. But Cuz can do that, so it does give them a level of like, hey, here's something in the draft that we could play. I think what's frustrating me is that in that series, I think they put Cuz on like, Cuz is your best player. Let him go be a playmaker. Instead, I think they put him they put him on Ivern. And it's like, no. Unless Bulldog's playing Tristana, then sure. But otherwise, no. Let him be your playmaker. Let him find a way on in. In that first series, he was the only one that got, or in that first game, he's the only one that got kills. He was trying his best. We kept saying it on the desk. He's trying to pull the carcass of this team out from underneath, but he was unable to. And so I just want them to be more clear with their identity. It's like, all right, CV Max, you can't get too cute with the draft against them, against top teams. Against lower teams, sure. But against top teams, put Cuz on things that have agency. He's your best player. It's the same shit I say about football. It's like, have your best player touch the ball as much as they can, right? Like, have them be your playmaker. Don't, put them in key things or set up others. Like, no, play to your strength. I mean,
I just looked up a stat, right? And last year, like, kind of the way I viewed Cuz for the longest time was like he was like the Sejuani Viego guy when he was on. Last year, I just saw that he was like the Sejuani Viego guy, right?
Yep. Yeah. And Maokai. But yeah, yes.
Yeah. Like, and he could play Maokai every now. I mean, his Maokai, he had 8 games Maokai last year, and last year he had 30 games Sejuani, 27 games Viego. So I was looking at him to just play those champs every time it's up. This team is not good enough for him to play Sejuani. He's an extremely good Sejuani player. This year, he's 1-8 on Sejuani. Every time he plays Sejuani, they fucking lose. Like he has to be on a carry or they just lose. You know, so I think for him, like, or for this team, what they need is they need to find angles like where he can play things that will be used for the game. One thing that I've just checked here is that he hasn't also played a Brand game. Brand, I think in general is not super high value in the LCK the same way it is in the
It's
LPL right
not.
now.
It's not.
No, it's very different. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you watch AL and Krakow, you would realize the potential of the brand damage. But for LCK, like the teams haven't really been playing it. Like Zyra is definitely much more high priority. It's weird
Yeah, and
because I think brand is good.
Brand is good. It's kind of like not a great matchup into Zyra, but I feel like Brand, if you give your team, if your team has setup, like you have a Rel, you have a Nautilus, you have Leona, whatever, and you're like top laner or something that can also go in, and you have good enough structure in the fights, you get an action there, whatever. If Brand can get off his combo, like you are one-shotting the whole team. Like this champion does so much random fucking damage that I think that it should be played more. But maybe that's an angle for like a player like Cuz, because that is something that you can really
True.
smurf on. But it is like the one thing I will say about Brand is that it is mechanically challenging to some degree. Like to really get effectiveness out of the champ, you have to be very good at the QE, like being able to like Q flash E and just get that unexpected stun. So there is a big difference between the ones in LPL that can pull that off, like Tarzan and Krako, and then the other people in LPL that are just playing it because you can press R in a team fight and one shot the enemy AD carry by accident.
That is what Nongshib did
I
to
do-
get a win earlier in the season with Sylvia.
I do love how LPL is just now just like wombo combo central. It's like we're bringing back the MF Kennen
Yeah.
brand comps. It's so funny to watch.
I really like that shit, to be
It's
honest.
very
I mean, that is
entertaining.
LPL. That is LPL at its core, right? Like, I
Just
mean,
everyone presses R.
yeah. And those comps, like when those comps are good in league, bro, they're very fucking good. Like, I think that is
Yep.
actually good meta. I think the MF is something. I mean, LCK hasn't played that many games on this new patch yet, right? Like they just came back
They played
on the
10
10th, I
best of
believe.
threes. Yeah, 10
Yeah,
best
10,
of threes.
10 best of threes. Yeah, so they had only 1 week, so 5 days of play. So I think the MF is also really good. What I've noticed about the MF is that like the ability to build BT on your AD carry is so nice, because when you start laning the MF solo against the enemy AD carry bot lane, it is just like the most abusive thing ever. You just like ult them off one wave, like the MF will just ult you off one wave, and he just trades autos with you. You can't do anything into this champion. So I think that is a champion that's probably getting underrated right now. I think that it needs to be played more in LCK. And I think that the teams that should play it are the bottom teams, bro. Like, what do you have to lose
Sure.
if you're one of these bottom teams? Just play the fucking wombo comps. It's not like you guys are macro geniuses anyway. Dude, I know aiming is like the Zeri Ezreal guy. He loves playing Zeri Ezreal Kai'Sa, like the mobility stuff. Just throw a fucking MF in there. Get Lehens on some engage. Throw an MF in there. Like, just send some ults at the enemy team and just fucking one shot somebody. Like that's how you're gonna win if you're Dom1, because Dom1, you're not winning by macro anyway, so you might as well draft some really OP team fight.
Love how you threw that out there. I was like, I'm pretty sure someone played this. It was Brion played the MF into Gumayushi. 10-1 and 3 Samver went against Gumayushi and Keria, and yes, there was a BT. So thank you very much, our expert Dom, on that one. All right. These three squads underperforming. Let's rank them out of 10. What is the fraudulency scale? Let's start here with Kwangdong Freak, since this was the most recent one. Dom, you go first.
Say it again.
Which is the
ranking-
Kwangdong. What
yeah.
frauds for fraud level for Kwangdong?
Fraud level for Kwangdong? I mean, I don't think they're that fraudulent. Like they're just, yeah. I would give them like a 4-3. Like they are who they are.
Monte?
Yeah, 4 is fair, I think.
All right. Less outrage here in the LCK this time. Let's go to then top esports. Where do you put them right now? Monte, you go first.
I think probably a 4 again. I anticipate they're going to bounce back. Like, I think Kwangdong will probably go like maybe 50%. Like, I could see them being 9-9. Like, Top has had a tough schedule. They're coming off EWC and the travel associated with that. They did have a good read, I think, right off the gate on the meta, but they haven't adapted well to like not being able to play Tristana. So I think they're not going to be exposed as mega frauds, finishing at the bottom of this, top tier group in LPL. So I'll give them a 4.
What about you, Dom?
Same. I think they'll be fine. I'll give them a 4 as well. I don't think these teams all are mega fraudulent, to be honest. Like fraudulency scale, like I don't know. I think that they're all fine. If we drop some more like LEC teams in here, oh, we'd get some ratings. You want fraudulency? Throw Mad Lions in here. How fucking bad is that team? That team is crazy bad.
We'll get there.
Okay.
BDS, I think, is like a 6 for me right now because they're a team that never has had the individual firepower to really win LEC, but their macro falling apart feels really bad for me. So, this is like the thing that they're supposed to be good at. So 6 out of 10 for me for BDS.
Yeah.
What about
I
you,
think
Dom?
for me, I'll go like 5. I think for me, the BDS issue is that I would expect them to be bad in this meta. Like if you told me, oh, the meta is now Corki Tristana, I would think that they would be bad already. Like Nuck was the guy who was playing like Syndra, Orianna, Cassio in previous seasons. Like he wanted to just always play a mage champion, and now he's playing champions that need to like squeeze advantages. He's never been that type of player. He's never been good on assassins. He's not really good on LeBlanc. Like he wants to be playing things where you can control space and you have like much of a more streamlined game. He's not a clutch player who's going to make some like massive mechanical outplay a lot of the time. So I would think that this team would struggle in this meta. So like they're worse than expected, but I don't think that they are like. I don't think that that the expectation should be that they would be insane. It would be that like they would be decent enough to beat these really bad LEC teams based off the fact that they just have like some level of macro. They have some level of systems that work for them.
Probably our tamest fraud alert that we've had. If you at home agree, then let us know. Or if you think there's another team from each league that should be in there, let us know which team that is. Whether it's my Lions Koi. I saw some people put NIP, but we defended NIP a little bit. Like they're just performing to what they expected. In a group of 9, they're 7-9. So, but if you think it's them, let us know in the comments below. While you're there, give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Take the time to do that and check out all the content that we have across multiple channels and multiple esports titles here at Last Free Nation. Also, now's the time to remind our friends about one of our partners here at Last Free Nation and on Power Spike. It's our friends over at AG1. It's the foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you are putting in your body. You've heard us now for what feels like forever, but like for months, talk about how it's changed our routines and our lives and how it's made it much easier and better to get the supplements I need to live a healthy life. My gut health has changed, and it has not changed since I've come to Korea. My food has changed. My AG1 has not. And so thankfully, I've had great movement in and out of the body, taking only what I need here, Monte.
It is great. And also like I have noticed, especially when I started using AG1, like it did give me more energy. And 97% of people in a research study felt more energy 30 days after drinking AG1, right? And it also helped people, in these research studies, drink less coffee overall. So if you've been on the caffeine train, it's maybe a way to kind of wean yourself off of it a little bit. You might find yourself needing a little bit less. But yeah, I've really enjoyed AG1. I do legitimately drink it every day. I drank it today after I was done with the gym. It was great.
Boom. And then Dom has lauded it for its pineapple core taste, or at least
Yep.
that's what jumps out at you.
Yeah, it's just refreshing. I don't know. I like just the vibe of it because you have like that clear glass bottle that they have. It just feels very clean to take in. You put like your powder in there. I have the little stir thing. I just move the stir down. Smooth taste. It doesn't feel like you're drinking anything like crazy. It's just nice, refreshing way to like have a drink. I mean, right now I'm trying to keep the diet like pretty clean, so it's something that I actually look forward to every day. It's like a little treat after breakfast, right before I go to the gym and stuff. So yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Registered Degenerate says, "What if I don't want off the caffeine train?" Well, it's your choice then to pick a worse way to get your energy. That's on you, dog. That's on you, because we've had lots of our friends let us know about how AG1 has changed their routine and made their life better. So while we've got your attention here about everything. You want to take control of your health and ownership of your health. It starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/LFNlegends. That's drinkag1.com/LFNlegends. It's right there on your screen. It helps us out, helps us keep the lights on here. Again, if we had to recommend one product to support whole body health, it's AG1. And that's why we're excited to have them as a partner for as long as we have. So thanks to our friends over at AG1. One more time, drinkag1.com/LFNlegends to get your free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Thank you to AG1. All right. Next up, we've got a keeper kick, and we're keeping it here in LPL. And usually a lot of time when we do keeper kick, y'all, we're like keeper kicking two shitters. We're like, oh man, these both suck. Now, this is the one in a movie, like where you love all the characters. They did great character development. Maybe it's like, I don't know, Fast and the Furious, everyone's family. Who we got to kick? You got to kick LNG with Scout's Resurgence. You know, how are things going there? Or anyone's legend. Wow, that's the darling team of the LPL, the squad that is bouncing on back. What are you going to do? Who are you going to kick? We'll find out what Monte and Dom do right now. It's this week's Keeper Kick. So, Monte, LNG was your favorite team when it was Tarzan. Tarzan's not there anymore.
I know.
Everyone loves anyone's legends. So where are we going?
They were, and then LNG was so shit in the placements, and then Scout was playing really bad. It was like protest gaming for kicking his bro Tarzan, and now he's back and he looks so good again. But they still don't have Tarzan, and I still miss Tarzan. So I'm going with the new darlings of anyone's legend. Is Croco finally a good player, which he couldn't be when he was on Live Sandbox? He was just insane. Maybe. Is Kyle finally a good player? Possibly. I mean, he has been individually looking good, but I think this anyone's legends roster ever since Tabe got their hands on them is very, very entertaining. To see Shanks develop as a player into a completely like new style so late in his career is like frankly quite shocking. And I think it really is a testament to the coaching staff that they could take veterans like Shanks, Croco, Kyle, I mean all the veteran players on this team and like actually make them better. It is hard to do that once they're set in their ways. So I'm on the AL hype train right now. So I'm definitely going to keep them. And sadly, I will have to kick LNG, my favorite Chinese team from last year.
Dom, I feel like you would be leaning AL.
Of course. AL is my favorite team right now in LPL. And I think that they've actually like developed real structure. Like that's what I like to see out of a team like this is they've made actual progress. And sure, like Ole had a bad series versus JDG. He ran it down multiple times in the games. But even when bad things happened in these games versus JDG, they were able to make it competitive. And it really came down to like a couple clutch moments. And JDG is still one of the best teams in LPL. I mean, they've been pretty much the third best team in LPL for the entirety of the year. So AL wasn't able to get over that hump. But if Ole actually performs up to his level, I could easily see this team potentially being able to take a best of 5 off top teams like JDG or BLG top esports, this level of team. So I like how they play. I think that they still have that like aggressive style, but now they have enough macro that they have more calculated timing with their aggression, which I think is really important for a team. And then for like LNG, I mean, I'm not going to jump on the train too early because they still look sus at the beginning of this summer placement group stage. So they just haven't been good for long enough. Like LNG had this nice week. They had a good win versus top esports. They played decently versus Weibo, but they just haven't played enough good series where I believe in them. I mean, when you look at AL, like AL has played a lot of games because they were in that group D as well. So like overall, like what are they? So now they were what? So they're 7-2 in game score. They're 3-1. They obviously lost to JDG. They're 7-2 in game score. When it comes to
their game losses came to JDG as well.
Both their losses came to JDG, and before that, they played. They were 7-1 in their group D. They're 14-4 there. So like this team is 21-6 game score. Like that is a fucking legit ass game score, especially when they were playing against like NIP, Weibo. Like they haven't been playing against bad teams. They're playing in the Ascend group now. Like they've showed that they are a top 5 minimum LPL team.
The worry about AL is that they've got Weibo, Top Esports, and LNG and BLG. So like they still have like heavy hitters to go up. Yes, they're playing teams in the Ascend, but they're playing the bottom of the Ascend teams so far. I would say that is a knock against them compared to LNG, who, you know, they also have
but like they also in their first 3 matches they didn't lose a game. Right. Like, I mean, they disposed of the teams that they should dispose of without dropping games, which is like, what else can you ask of them, really?
Yeah. And then also it's like LNG essentially only has the win versus top. So we'll see. I mean, I want to see LNG versus AL. I think that will be a pretty good decider. But even if AL only beats Weibo, or even if they don't beat anyone else, I mean, they're still going to end up being top 7. They're going to be like top 6 probably, and end up like in the third round of playoffs immediately.
LNG and AL, their matchup is the final match of the I guess this stage is this the regular season stage for LNG, and second to last for AL. How do they match up against each other stylistically when you go between these rosters? Obviously, Scout and Shanks going head to head, Croco and Weiwei, the former LNG top laner and Ale going up against the young guy Zika. Like, how do you see this one playing out?
Monte or me?
Let's go Monte first.
I think it's interesting because like AL and LNG are both like also big like bot lane Ziggs users. So they have had kind of similar stylistic, you know, tendencies. And but I think Shanks like really has been he's really blossomed on some of these AD champions that he wasn't known for previously. I think both now after this last week, I think Scout also showed a very good Yone, but Shanks's Yone has been really quite good. So I don't know, like LNG has been impressive. We'll have to see when it comes closer, but I think AL, I don't know, they that JDG game really got me down about AL. I'm hoping they can kind of get it together and not have like some of the top plays that got them behind, because it was some missed timings, especially in the third game versus JDG, where like Ale was like trying to all in, but it was like before Croco could even get there. And AL might be very reliant on the brand too. That has been a really key part of that. But they have also been doing a lot of like the big wombo combo, like MF brand, you know, combinations. So the top eight's been really leaning into that recently. So I say that's pretty different than what LNG has been doing for the most part.
How about you, Dom? How do you see them stacking up?
I think it just comes down to Ole's form, to be honest. Like Ole is a player that relies on certain champions, right? Like he really relies on having these like X factor picks like Jax and like Camille in good games, or being able to like play a good Kennen game. And it seems like he's always struggled with being like stable in a team. It's very rare where he's just playing weak side. I think there was like a brief period on 2023 EDG in Spring Split where he was kind of showing that he could do that to some degree, but I feel like what he needs to do is he needs to play stable in the games that are close, because his performance is the difference between them winning that JDG game 1 and losing it, right? Like if he doesn't overforce in that flank, the rest of the team made a good play. Like they made a play that was going to turn into a advantaged Nash situation, and because he makes that mistake, suddenly they all die. Ezreal gets like Ruler gets a bunch of kills, and then suddenly Baron is going the way of JDG as well. So I feel like he just needs to be more stable. If he's more stable, I think they're fine.
All right. Well, both these guys on the AL train. Final thoughts here, Monte. Looks like you're pondering.
Oh no, I take AL. It's really tough because LNG has been, you know, with most of this roster has been a better team for longer. So I do put a lot of weight into their synergy and like the, you know, the veterancy of a lot of these players. But AL has been so delightful and surprising recently that I'll take AL. I'll take AL. We can kick LNG.
All right. the new blood is in. Everyone with the panda of AL, anyone's legend, is the one that our experts will be keeping here and kicking LNG. What do you think at home? Let us know in the comments below, all of you LPL aficionados. That's keeper kick. Last one to go tonight. We're going to Europe. Well, you see lately that hasn't been good, but it's the state of the LEC playoffs. Again, 3 splits, which is what it seems like we're going to next year. 3 splits. We're finally in the summer playoffs, which isn't the final playoffs of Europe, but it is a playoffs that will lead to points that get you into the final playoffs, which are known as the season finals here. And where we're at with it, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Fnatic and G2 in the on the upper side of the finals. Let's get into it. This week's Galaxy Brain Club, the LEC playoffs. All right, so we're in round 2 of it. So like what the winners bracket semifinals just completed with Fnatic getting the wins over SK and BDS falling to G2, and that was after we had the Niski incident, the tower, and all that stuff.
I just wanted to hear Dom get angry about this because I was enjoying his tweets about, I'm not going to watch this shit anymore.
Yeah, it was really depressing to me. I feel like the series that got me was obviously the BDS Mad Lions one, because like if BDS shows up and they play that shit on the day, can like Mad Lions at least just beat them? Like, do we need to throw a 10k gold lead? I just really hate watching a lot of these players play. There's so many times, like when I watch Heretics play, there's no life in that team. Like that's a wonder. Yanko, like that, they have what? 4 LEC champions on the squad? 4. And then they just do nothing. They just show up. Like their drafts are not like exciting. They just don't find any way to win situations. They would like lose the game on grubs in regular season constantly. It just feels really like sad to watch Heretics for me, because I just don't want to watch like players that I've liked for so long just show up and do nothing, you know? That series was really hard to watch. Then I looked at like Fnatic Giant X, which was mega disgusting. Like the first 2 I mean, Fnatic should have got 2-0'd by Giant X. Like the way that they played the early games were so bad. They entered their whole game 2. I don't even know. They somehow entered the entire game early game, and then by 24 minutes they like won the game. Like I actually don't know what's going on. There's also this weird obsession with like Varus mid in LEC that I just don't understand. Like I don't understand it. It just makes no sense to me. Like Varus mid, where did that come from? Why is there Varus mid all over the place now? Varus mid got nerfed. It used to be like a poke champion. They nerfed essentially the poke build out of the game. They made it so they want you to just go the on-hit one. So now we're just going on-hit Varus mid. Every other league, it's like Corki Tristana, Yone, Lucian Jace. Like these are like the ones that are being rotated. And as you go down that list, you know, you get to different champions, maybe an odd like Zeri mid. Why the fuck are we still playing Varus mid on 14-13? Like, I actually have no idea why we're even playing it in the first place. And then, like, the G2 KC matches, I was really hyped because I was like, okay, I think G2's had a bad meta read the entire split. I feel like they should be playing more AP junglers. They were playing a lot of Maokai, Sejuani. Then I watched this KC game, and I'm like, they have a fucking insane draft game 1. They're going to completely smurf it. And it ends up being like a 40-minute complete stinker. So I don't know. At least it just makes me angry, man. It just makes me angry. Like all the games make me angry. There wasn't one series that didn't make me angry, besides for like maybe Fnatic versus SK.
I was gonna say Fnatic SK. There wasn't a lot to get angry about. Like what was so surprising though, and this is why most of us are just so sick of this iteration of Fnatic, is because like 1 week it's just like the fucking Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde like turnarounds of this team. They played a surprisingly compellingly good series against SK. Like Noah probably had his best day in a really fucking long time, because that guy has just been, you know, he's had his days where he just completely runs it down, and he looked really good. He didn't die across the series in SK. They looked really dominant start to finish. But, you know, that also gets coupled with the fact that you had to suffer through this Giant X match. So I just wish Fnatic could be consistently the SK version of Fnatic. And that's what's so fucking frustrating about them, because then maybe we could actually get a compelling final. But it's like, I miss the Rogue Mad Lions finals, those teams being good days, because now it just feels like every single split, it's the exact same shit over and over and over again. And I do appreciate the fact that G2 is a very good team. I do appreciate the fact that they had an excellent MSI performance, proved that they can hang with some of the best teams in Korea and China. I mean, they really had a magnificent international showing. And I am actually willing to trade them just taking a fat dump on Europe forever in order to have a good Western team at some of these international events. But it would be nice if some of the other European teams would like challenge them just a
Like help them
fucking
maybe?
tiny bit, like
How
just
about
a
you help
little
them?
bit.
How about you
Yeah.
try to fucking win when you play against G2? Like you watch like G2 obviously has fucking aura, but like you look at this BDS matchup and BDS, you can tell they just resigned to lose. It didn't matter what G2 draft, it didn't matter what G2 did. BDS were just gonna show up and fucking lose to them. They lose to them every single time. And what going into this week, I was like, okay, Fnatic had a disgusting EWC. They've looked bad in the last couple weeks. Maybe BDS is the second best team. Show me something, BDS. So like every time I go into LEC with like some hope for some team, and it always just fucking shatters. Then I watch BDS have this like horrible week. Like this is a horrible week for BDS. I mean, they should have got 2-0'd by Mad Lions, and then they should have just got 2-0'd. Well, they wouldn't have played again, but they should have got 2-0'd by Mad Lions, then they got 2-0'd by G2. Am I hyped for BDS anymore? No, I don't care about them. It feels like other teams have figured out you just ban Rel and they're shit now. Fnatic will never be better than what they are now because they don't actually improve as a team. They just like all play their own game, and if individually the players are playing well on the day,
Yeah, if
like,
the
then they'll
stars
win.
all align and they all have a good game, then it goes really well. But that doesn't happen very often. So
Yeah, and what we've seen consistently when Fnatic has played G2, and what we also saw at EWC is that if Fnatic plays against a team that has like good, solid, competent macro, they can never win. Doesn't matter if they can look good. Even if Humanoid pops off versus top esports, they can never win. When Fnatic played against Gen G, even though they were playing well on the days, they can never win. When they play against TL, even though TL, like that game 2 was looking a little sus, they can never win. They can never beat a team that has competent macro in a best of series. It just doesn't happen. They
it's
just
actually a
can't do
good
it.
observation. I like that. But now, Dom, we get Mad Lions Koi versus Carmine Corp.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it
And if
all kind
Mad
of was
wins,
worth it
then
in the
K Corp
end.
is out for the year, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was all kind of worth it in the end. All the shit games so that we could get this one terrible best of 3 to make some dumb fan base really mad.
Yep.
I don't
I
think
guess
you're
it's worth
done,
it.
Mad Lions fans or your KC fans that watch our show. Please continue to watch our show.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what they do, dGon, is they report channel like the episode for like inappropriate content. It's very annoying.
This is Euro esports version right here. Again, the nationality is on the line, especially given the fact that this could be it for KC. The fact that they're even here, like given the fact that they couldn't win a game, they looked so pathetic, like in the first 2 splits. And here we go. Now it's on the back of Vladdy to do something, and Kana to do something here for him is quite exciting. And same thing for Mad Lion.
It's the Vladdy versus Frescoey matchup that we've all been waiting for. We've all been anticipating it.
I think
guys.
Vladdy is a much better player. I'll throw that one out there.
True.
I think
I
Vladdy
actually,
is a much better player.
I think he actually has been pretty decent for his first split. So I'm just joking. But yeah, I mean, those names are not the one that inspire you with hype to go into this matchup.
I don't know, man. The Antonio versus Wonder. That one's a good one too.
Fucking Tony, bro.
Big Tone.
Big Tony.
It's so fun to watch. Just like, what is happening?
It just goes down like a solid like 80 CS every lane phase, but then he actually does stuff in team fights. I'll take it, bro.
Okay. Well, those matches will be on Monday the 22nd.
I will hate watch those games. I will do it.
Yeah. So is this break? So this week, sorry, I'm a little confused. This week is the EMEA break? Is that what this is? The EMEA Valorant break? Because there are no matches
No,
this
no,
week?
no, 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 no.
No, there are.
There are. So on the basically on they moved the matches. Are they on Sunday and Monday? They're on
Sunday,
Sunday and
Monday,
Monday.
Tuesday.
They're on
Oh,
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday this time around. That's right.
Yep.
sorry.
So we do have on Sunday we have the dumpster fire matches.
Yeah, yeah,
On
yeah.
Monday we have the best of 5 between Fnatic and G2. And then on Tuesday we have
BDS
BDS
versus
versus the
Fire,
winner, and then
Vipers.
SK versus the winner. So
I mean,
we have
I will
two.
say, is it not fucking weird to have like only 2 days in between like the turnaround? I feel like the 2 day turnaround is fucking crazy. Like having 2 days of turnaround between when BDS and SK are going to play their best of threes to when they have to play a best of five. And that seems really crazy to me. That you
Yeah,
get 2 days to prep for a best of five because it's a Tuesday to Friday.
that's true. So
Just
yes,
something
they
I
did
wanted to throw
move
out there.
because of VCT, I believe. Because as I responded to Dom's tweet when he's like, "What the hell is going on with these schedules?" I'm like, "Dom, the answer is always VCT. If you just go to Liquipedia and you look at the VCT schedule, you will immediately discover why the schedule is the way
No,
it is in League of
I know
Legends."
why it is. Like I don't tweet that because I'm actually confused. It's more like I'm trying to be like, how fucking shit is the schedule? Like that's like what I'm essentially doing in like a more creative way. Like I know why the schedule is what it is, but it's just like to
I
me,
just think it's funny that Riot just repeatedly says, "Oh yeah, we're not prioritizing VCT," and yet every time it's the LoL schedule that makes the move. Every
you know,
single time,
This year. Maybe next year it'll be different.
forever, forever.
last year as well, right? Last year the
Yeah.
whole thing was we went on weekdays for LCS because we had to. Like I mean, it'll always be like
What?
that.
Tom, the data said it was better for viewership. I don't know what you're talking about. The
Yeah, I
data
guess the
wouldn't
data
lie to
just
us.
changed, bro. The data is just lying. I don't know. It's really annoying. I feel like League has so much potential. I was talking to somebody about it recently, but like League has had so much potential, but it feels like they're on complete maintenance mode with League. They've given up like trying to like market the game or like add new players to the game. They're just trying to like maintain. Hopefully it doesn't die too hard. Hopefully the viewership for esports is fine. And then like they just want to go into Valorant for the next few years. And then when the MMO comes out, that's gonna be everything. That's Riot's plan, bro. They don't believe in MOBAs anymore as a genre. They don't believe in like this game like being marketable to young players. They just want
But
to maintain
as they've
everything.
said, 2025 is going to change League forever, Dom. Now, who knows what that means? But that's what was tweeted.
Okay.
League of Legends 2.
I mean, if
That would
they
change
cut
League
half the
forever.
champions out of the game and do it on a new engine, then I'd be down.
Yeah, screw Yumi. Screw me. There we go. Boom.
I
That
mean,
didn't come out
half the
right.
champions are just useless anyway. Like, no one's gonna be upset if they get rid of Yumi and Garen. Like, nobody. And Master Yi. Those champs fucking suck.
Sorry,
Yep.
Adam. All right. Well, there you go. We've hit all around the world as only we can. Or I guess do. I guess others could, but not as well. Never mind. As only we can. Power Spike, this week's episode done and dusted. Dom is a madman doing all the LPL watch throughs and still doing, I guess, co-streams and live viewing the LEC still. I don't know how you do it. Monte doing his bangers only. And what other shows are you on this week?
Summoning Insight tomorrow. New episodes of Nerd Legion and Foreplay. There's a new episode on this channel, if you're on YouTube, of the Four Horsemen about the state of esports, this very sad state of esports journalism that we just recorded. So lots of stuff coming out.
What is the foreplay? Because I love asking about that.
The 13th Warrior.
What is that?
Well, dGon, it is Antonio Banderas playing an Arabic man in the 10th century who visits some Vikings. That's what it is.
Damn, man. He got the good genes. I wish I could have used my Latino last name and half as good looks to pull that off, but unlucky. All right. I'll be on LCK week. I'll be off Friday. So, but I think tomorrow is one of the banger matches, right? Tomorrow is the get out of here, get out of here.
I mean, Saturday's the real banger. It's Hanwha T1 and D plus Gen G.
Yes, Saturday is the big day, so I'll be on for that one as well. My fact of the week, hint for fact of the week, which will be tomorrow, is I guess today if you're watching it. It's about the win streak record that Gen G would break if they beat Nongshim this week.
And it's T1 2013 winter is the answer. And
You're
I
the
think
worst, Dom. You're the worst.
did I actually
So-
just snipe that like that? Is
You
it just
kind of,
I-
almost.
So,
All right,
so
okay.
it's T1 2015, I believe. But T1 2013 was the 15-0, so they actually won every game in the winter split, like you're saying, Dom. It would have been 17 games if we went back because they won their last 2 games in 2013 summer because that was actually the Faker versus Ryu, Zed versus Zed, and they reverse swept that series. Actually, it was 18 games. And I don't know if they probably wouldn't have lost their first game of spring 2014, but I have to go back and look at that. So it's at least 18 games that win streak. I can tell you off the top of my head.
okay.
All right. Nothing
In
gets
LCK,
past-
only counting LCK.
I say nothing gets past Monte here. Close. These were close. Though Tom, that was really good. That's so fucking annoying, but that was really good.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll pull it up and then if and then we'll talk about it later. All right, friends. Thank you so much for watching.
Hold on, I'm actually looking. The first match of spring 2014 was actually a SKTK versus SKTS. So it was the 2 SKT, and they went 1-1. The question is, who won the first game and who won the second game? Because they were actually in the same group. So it was either 18 or 19 wins was the LCK win streak. I can tell you that right now. But
Wait,
I think there was
It says
I
they
think there was
won.
there was a really long one in 2015 as well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to find the tournament results here in 2015. There we go. 2015 summer. Anyway, this is literally what I'm about to go do once we're off so I can have this fact ready to go to stump everyone and then they get upset. Even though it's just dumb fact. Either way.
At the start,
They won the first
hold on.
game. They won the first game.
They won the first game. So it was thank you, Dom.
So that's 19.
It was a 19 game win streak from the obviously we didn't count Worlds in that. It was just purely LCK win streak. Was the last 3 games in their final against KT Rolster B into the 15-0 season into the first game. So it was 19 games.
Boom. All right. 19 games, but Gen G would have the first ever undefeated round robin of this new format. So 18-0. So we'll see if they're able to do it. You can come see that on Thursday. Tomorrow is Bro and D+, Guangdong Freaks against Hanwha Life. Again, here at Last Free Nation, if you haven't already, subscribe across all the multiple channels that we're putting the content out. Things are popping off. People are messaging me, Monte, about like, hey, I see what you're doing over there at Last Free Nation. I'm like, yeah, did you see that when I first joined? Or were you one of those people that were like, hey, what are you doing with that motley crew of gentlemen? I was like,
Yeah, where's your McDonald's sponsorship?
yeah,
Loser.
yeah. Enjoy your I don't know, honey mustard sauce without getting sponsored for it. All right. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode of Power Spike. See ya.